Hard Hat Hockey. Welcome in. Episode 25 coming to you. Today we got 3 games, 2 on the West Coast. We got Sharks and Avs. That's in San Jose. It's down the street. I should have gone, honestly. Should have postponed the show, Grant. And then we got Kings at Ducks. A little Battle of L.A. down south. West Coast is hot. Currently, Pens and Jets are tied after the first period. I'd be really interested to see how that plays out. We got some news on both teams today. Before we get going, we want to thank our fans. Please reach out, Facebook, Twitter, hardhathockey1@gmail.com. I got a particular special shout out today to some of our international fans that I'm really looking forward to because, frankly, we owe it to you all. We would be nothing without you. So go follow us on all those social media outlets. We are now officially video on YouTube, video on Spotify, and should be video up and running on Apple after this episode. So look forward to that. Tell your friends, leave a comment. We want to hear from you. We'll get back to you right away. And we'll talk all things hockey, baby. That's why we do this show, our fans and talking good hockey with good people. Folks, we have a host today, a special guest, if you will, from originally the Buffalo, New York area. Sean Hackel is here with us. He is now Hard Hat Hockey's exclusive boots on the ground Sabres analyst. Sean, how you doing?
Hey, boys. Thanks for having me. Doing well. Good to be on the show.
Yeah, of course. And then, as always, my main man, Grant, coming to us from Columbus, Ohio. Grant, how was Philly?
It was great. I had never been there. I was there. I didn't go to the Flyers home opener. Was in town visiting friends who aren't super into hockey. So me throwing that out there would not have gotten a lot of traction. But I saw them get destroyed by the Vancouver Canucks, which was pretty funny. We saw it at the restaurant we were eating dinner at. Cool city. I got to say, I'd never been there. Got some cheesesteaks. I waited 90 minutes for a cheesesteak sandwich. Not sure if it was worth it. It was really good, but just the nature of cheesesteaks are like, it's kind of cheap meat and cheese whiz. That's not like, I'll wait 90 minutes for a steak.
Sure.
But it's good. It's good to get out and travel. Got back to Columbus at 11 a.m. Today. So feeling it a little bit. Got the coffee. We're here to work, though. I like what you mentioned. It's like going to the game, but doing the show in the content world, man. When you cover the sport, you realize you got to kind of put your fan interest aside a little bit because you got to cover it. You got to watch it. You got to make the show. If you're just watching from the stands the whole time, like you're used to as a fan, your content, your shows, and your coverage is gonna hurt.
It's just selfish at that point. The show must go on. Grant,
and
I'm
it's
also
a tough
noticing
thing to learn.
Two episodes in a row now. Since we've gone to video, we've got some passengers. I see the cats in the background.
They love it.
Mascot fit. They love it.
Yeah.
Okay. Speaking of delicacies, though, I'll never forget the first time I had a garbage plate with Sean Hackel up in upstate New York. I've talked about it before.
Now we're talking regional food here.
Talked about it before on the show. Sean, can you give us a little insight on maybe just the tradition of the garbage plate in the?
Yeah, I mean, when you mentioned on your show, you're pretty close. It's not really a gravy that goes on top of it, like you said. It's like a meat hot sauce. So think of like ground beef, and there's a hint of like cinnamon. It's just phenomenal. So you take a plate and you just fill up half of it with mac salad, half of it with home fries, curly fries, whatever you want. And I like 2 greasy cheeseburgers on top.
Wow.
Put on that meat hot sauce, a little dash of onion, a little mustard. Perfect.
That sounds like a weekend maker, maybe a weekend killer. It's been a while, Sean.
It does both. Now that I'm getting up there in age, I can't really have them as much as I used to, but man, they're so good. Every time I go home, I have to get one. But the original was Nick Tahoe's in Rochester. And ever since, I don't know when it came out, a long time ago, but ever since then, everyone's got their own, some are better than others, but they're all phenomenal.
That's good. I like a little bit of like flexibility with the recipe.
Yeah. And, everyone's got a different variation on it,
Yeah.
All the same.
I've had some decent ones, a couple of other mutual friends up in upstate New York. I got to say, it's not the star of the plate, but a good mac salad with it will take it from like average to really good. Bad mac salad almost kind of like ruins the plate.
The mac salad makes or breaks a garbage plate.
Yeah.
Yes.
And folks, of course, we had the garbage plates as a pregame before the Sabres versus Devils game that was in Buffalo, New York. What a wonderful time. Sean, my currency is clearly expired. We need to rehack that currency when we get the opportunity.
Oh, I'd love to. I haven't been to a game in a while, so I'm itching to get back. Maybe when I'm home for Christmas, I'll see a game.
Yeah, well, seeing as where you're located now, perhaps a Ducks game down in your area.
Yeah, Ducks are the Kings. Yeah, but
yeah,
it's just tough because this is not upstate New York anymore. Now living in L.A., the prices are through the roof.
right. Traffic is a different. That's a new beast.
You go to a restaurant and ask for a garbage plate in L.A. and they kindly ask you to leave.
Yeah, that's just not allowed here. It's just
Yeah,
way too classy a place.
That doesn't pair well with the tofu. Okay. All right, folks, we're going to go straight into our stock market breakdown. If you're new with us, this is our segment where we essentially discuss the NHL as if we are financial analysts about stocks that we are buying and stocks that we are selling. Consider these 3 hottest tips across the continental U.S. right here, right now. So who am I buying out of the gate? Central Division, a team that always seems to fly under the radar because they don't get the traditional coverage that a lot of other teams get on the national stage. And that is the Dallas Stars. Ho-hum, off to quite the start, Grant. Groundbreaking 95% penalty kill and only 44 penalty minutes. Not a super impressive stat, penalty minutes out of the gate. We don't typically talk about it that much, but that's 10th fewest in the league. If you're a disciplined team, that's certainly going to help things. So on top of
it pays to stay out of the box.
It sure does. So on top of the lethal penalty kill, Jake Ottinger, we'll talk about him individually later on, 1.5 goals against per game, certainly helping the blue line efforts as well. That's why I'm buying Dallas Stars stock out of the gate. Grant?
I think that's a great pick. Only thing I worry about that pick is maybe you're buying a little too late. Maybe the word's out on the Stars already. Ottinger just got paid. The investment's there, but you're in the right track. They're a phenomenal team. I am going to keep it in the Central. I'm going a little bit of a different angle here. Who I'm buying, Trent? I'm buying the Chicago Blackhawks. Purely based on what I've seen so far, they look like they're playing real hockey and are trying to, as opposed to last year where it felt like they were just kind of throwing the pucks out on the ice and just killing time almost. Like there is the semblance of a team and an identity. I think they're past the point of tanking. Like they got to start seeing what they have with some of these young guys, and if any of the veterans they brought in are worth keeping for maybe another 2 years. But I've enjoyed watching them. They're a team I've kind of noticed myself gravitating to on ESPN Plus, and I not picking them to make the playoffs, but certainly improved over last year. And if you're a neutral observer like myself and find yourself looking for a game, they're a good watch usually. A really fun game.
I like that pick a lot. You make a great point about trendy picks as well. It might be too late to call the Dallas Stars as like a groundbreaking buy stock, because it's kind of like buying toasters after toaster strudels came out. The secret was out. The value is already there. So that is a good point. I'll try to be a little more
it's good conversation. This segment's going to turn to something really fun as the year goes on, because at a certain point we're going to buy the Oilers when we think they're at their lowest. And we're going to try to call the launch similar to last year. So we're not there yet. It's still early days of the season. But there's a lot of kind of interesting trends, man. Our guys over in Seattle have kind of put together a couple interesting games and some decent performances, and I'm loving it right now.
Sean, you got any stocks you're buying?
Yeah, I've got the Utah Hockey Club playing some great hockey right now. 4-1-1, sitting what is that, 5th overall in the league right now. I know it's only been 5-6 games, but still they've been impressive. And
great atmosphere out there in Utah. It's still crazy to see.
Clayton Keller is filling that leadership void that seems to be, was there for a long time. And they're doing it without John Marino and now Dursey as well on the IR. So we'll talk about that.
I do worry about the precedent that this sets, not necessarily for the NHL and hockey as a whole, but just individual people thinking that like a move to Utah could turn their life around. If you're in like a sluggish spot, like maybe the Coyotes were, and you see that, you're like, maybe me, Joe Smith, 27, off a breakup, my life could improve by moving to Salt Lake City. That's not true. You're not the Utah Hockey Club.
We'll have to get some stats on like traffic migration going from Phoenix to Salt Lake City, see if there's anything to that.
Well, I'd love to be able to look at TV ratings if they would, cut the blackouts and, was I actually able to measure that? That'd be interesting, but we don't live in that world.
That'd be something, wouldn't it? Yeah. All right. Stocks I'm selling and why Sean Hackel is here. And Sean, I'm sorry. I know that's kind of a depressing, intro. But the facts are facts. And here's the facts. The Buffalo Sabres power play is 0 for 21. Decent amount of chances in the early going. That's 7 games, 21 opportunities. It's 3 per game if you're good at math. 0% conversion rate is what 0 for 21 comes out to. Big reason why they are now 7th in the Atlantic Division. 3.71 goals against per game. Hot item over the summer was the hiring of Lindy Ruff, thinking that, he had time with Buffalo before, a lot of experience with that market. Clearly knows the ownership well, knows the area well, the fans. Not the start that we're looking for in Buffalo for a team that is desperate for some positive momentum. Sean?
Absolutely not. So, coming out of the gate, it was tough to go to Prague and lose 2 to New Jersey like you did. And they just flat out just didn't look good the first 2 games. And then they come back and, you play L.A. at home. So you got a team from the West Coast coming all the way to Buffalo. And, they passed like what I call the eye test. They looked okay. They're controlling the pace of the game, putting up more shots, getting chances. They just not converting. And you end up losing that game 3-1 after LA puts in an empty net goal. Bad start. And, you talk about the power play early on in the season. I mean, it's still all early, but, the first couple games, zone entries were abysmal, non-existent, couldn't get the puck in, couldn't set up the power play. And now I think they've gotten slightly better at that aspect. And now it just seems like there's no urgency on the power play. The puck's not moving very fast. They're not getting anything to the net. And, I know, Trent, that's just not a way to put the puck in the back of the net. You got to move the puck, got to get pucks to the net. Even if it's dirty goal, get people down low, get the puck to the net. And it's just not happening.
Yeah, get that garbage plate goal, if you will.
Exactly.
So I was breaking down on money, credits and moneypuck.com here. Great website if you're looking for advanced stats in the NHL with your free time. Great bathroom read. So the combination of Benson, Tage Thompson, and Tuck has expected goals against per 60, right? So we talked about this. This is an advanced stat that doesn't paint the whole picture, part of the picture, but I like it because it creates trends. At one point over this past week, they had 9 expected goals against. So that doesn't mean they had 9 against, but based on the way they were playing and the shots that they were letting up with that forward line on the ice, the Sabres were expecting 9 goals against. What does that tell me? That tells me that the team defense needs to improve drastically. And it's not all bad, though. Bo Byram and Owen Power, same stat applied. They expected 4.21 goals for and 2 expected against. That's a good ratio. So that tells me right there that maybe the blue line isn't the culprit here. Maybe it is team defense from the forward core, especially a Tage Thompson. You need a lot out of this guy for a Sabres team, like we said, that is desperate for some production. So, just my thoughts, John.
Yeah, I've been impressed with Bo Byram so far. I think he's playing really well. He's controlling the pace, as you said. Like when he's on the ice, good things are happening. That really can't be said for the whole team right now. I have liked the change in aggressiveness on the forecheck the last few games, and that you can see that in the offensive production has gone up through the roof in the last 3 games. 5 goals against Pittsburgh, lost in overtime. We can go into the defense in a little bit, but then you play Columbus, you put up 4. Granted, you gave up 6, so bad, really bad. And then last night you put in 4, get the win. But yeah, it's just some players, are looking good on the back end, especially Bo Byram. Rasmus Dahlin has been, I thought, pretty good with controlling the pace of the play. The points haven't come yet, but his plus minus is still, he's in the positive. One of the only guys on the team in a positive plus minus. Tage Thompson, what I've liked is he's scoring points. He's got 4 goals through 7 games. That's a pace that he needs to be on for 82 games. That being said, there's definitely some things to work on in our own zone with the forward group. And I think, Tage Thompson, to be that number 1 overall center, just needs to improve in that aspect of the game. In order for you to be on a playoff caliber team, your number 1 center has to be able to do both, in my opinion. Yeah. And then, you mentioned Zach Benson. Right now, I'm looking at his stats. 6 games played, no points, and -4 on the plus minus. Am I ready to, say Zach Benson's, not having a good year? Sure, that's true, but, he's still 20 years old and it's got a lot of upside. And I think last year we saw that upside at times, but with the young players especially, it's hard to get that consistency down. So I'm hoping that we get him turned around, because that's a huge piece going forward that we just need production out of. We gave up Casey Middlestad essentially for him. Players like him. That's why they were willing to give up on Middlestad and let him walk. It's because they saw potential in Zach Benson and Yuri Kulik and guys like that. That we just need to take that next step in order to be, honestly, in order to be competitive, let alone to make a push for the playoffs.
Sure. Folks, if you're new to hard at hockey or hockey in general, plus minus is essentially your ratio of goals for that you're on the ice for, and when you're on the ice for goals against. So if you have a minus, a -4, if you will, you're on for more goals against than you are on the ice for goals for. So plus minus is one of those stats you look for in guys who maybe don't produce on the score sheet, but if they're making good things happen, they provide a lot of value there. Somebody else who can improve their play, Sean, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, .886 save percentage. I realize it's not always on him. Grade A scoring chances a lot of times are one-way flights to the back of the net. Not a whole lot you can do. However, anything below 900 in the NHL, you're giving your team a real hard way to go to find wins. So that's something that can improve as well.
Yep.
Second most goals against in the NHL. I threw this in there. Second most, because first most is Colorado. R.I.P. Okay.
Yeah. And to piggyback off that, I'm looking at the save percentages for both Luukkonen and Devin Levi. Luukkonen's at .895. Levi is at .874 right now, and that's as of last night. And they're giving up on average. Levi is 3.7 goals against, and then Luukkonen's 3.2. And watching the games, especially against Pittsburgh, you jump out to an early lead, you chase Jarry out of the net. He's having a bad year, by the way. And then you just give up like 7 2-on-1s, and that's leaving your goalie out to dry. I mean, if you watch the Pittsburgh game, they put up 40 shots on goal and gave up 6 goals. And Levi had a couple. He wasn't phenomenal, but he was good enough where he made a couple big saves that should have been goals. That game could have been, 8-5 for all we know. It was just, you can't give up 7 2-on-1s in a game. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but it was just brutal. You get offensive zone possession and turnover at the blue line, and they're coming back with Malkin and Crosby. And I know they're getting up there in age, but you just can't do that.
Yeah, that game seemed like it should have been over at 3 different points. I was texting one of my buddies who had a little parlay leg on that game in particular. And yeah, the Sabres had every business to put that game away, and they just didn't. They just let Pittsburgh continue to climb back in so many times. That game was over. Had, no business. Yeah. Fear not, though, fans. If you're a fan of Buffalo or any team in the Atlantic Division, really, this stat is for you. 6 teams separated by 2 points right now. I realize that is early, but that is one of those trends that I feel is going to cement itself through the rest of the season. It's going to be an absolute slog I think it's going to be tight. I think it's going to be I think it's the best division in hockey, which is very unfortunate if you are a Buffalo Sabres fan. However, take comfort in it. I think it's going to be tight to the very end.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, you got right off the bat, Boston, Florida, Tampa even is, still got some heavy hitters on that team.
Tampa's going to be around.
Yeah, they're not going anywhere. And yeah, it's competitive. And then you look at like the teams on what I'll call like in contention, Detroit, Buffalo, Ottawa, and you got three teams essentially vying for what may be one spot in the playoffs at best, because those top three teams that I mentioned, gonna be tough to knock. Oh, yeah, sorry, I didn't even mention Toronto. So yeah, if you
No, it's okay. You can
Yeah.
ignore around on this podcast.
I know that.
Yeah.
Oh, come on, Grant. Come on.
It's just one of those things. Like, who are you going to knock out to make the playoffs? If you're one of those three teams I mentioned, Buffalo, Detroit, or Ottawa, who's not going to make it? I don't think it's going to be Boston. I don't think it's going to be Florida. I don't think it's going to be Toronto. Just then you're looking at Tampa, and I just don't see Tampa not making it.
I had Detroit, Sean, as one of my hotter picks making the playoffs, and they're last in the division.
You still holding on to that stock, Trent?
Detroit? Yeah. I'm gonna stay loyal. Sean, I took a lot of hot takes over the offseason, to include Detroit making the playoffs, Utah making the playoffs, and the Anaheim Ducks making the playoffs. And I'm hanging on to that.
But
I'm hanging on to that.
I don't blame you with Detroit. They got a lot of young players and they're an excited.
The Yiser
plan over the summer. Yiser plan looked like it was working to perfection, and you get Patty Kane in there for some veteran. With the young guys that they have, I don't blame you, Trent. But Anaheim, I can't defend that. That's tough.
Oh, I appreciate your honesty.
Yeah, but I mean, you look great with the Utah right now.
Yeah, that one is working out. Well, folks, that wraps up our stock market for the day. Sean, if you got any parting message or parting shots for the Sabres or hard hat hockey in general.
One more stat for you. So the young line in Buffalo, usually our second line. You got Dylan Cousins, Zach Benson, and Jack Quinn. A lot of times they've been playing together. Right now, I'm just going to read some stats. Jack Quinn, 6 games played, 1 assist, -4. Cousins, 7 games played, 2 assists, -2. And I already mentioned Zach Benson with being -4 with no points. They're all under 23 years old. I think they're going to turn it around. At least I'm optimistic. But without that line playing well and continue to develop, we're going to have a tough year. I'm optimistic, like I said. I think they can do it, but that's where we're at. We need them to start performing and start putting the puck in the back of the net.
What's so frustrating about the NHL is those players turning it around means that some other younger players on another team are going to trend in the negative direction. Yeah, and there's no lack of talent all over the place. And the margin for error is so minuscule. And yeah, they can absolutely do it. So we'll look forward to it. Hopefully Lindy Ruff, makes the cavalry call and gets those boys going in the right direction in upstate New York. We love our Buffalo Sabres fans, and we wish you all nothing but the best.
Yeah, it's Western New York's a better place when the Sabres are playing well. So I hope they get
That's
back
very
there.
well said.
Here to that. Here to that. I love that.
All right, boys. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. And great podcast. Love it.
Sean Hackel, ladies and gentlemen. Sean Hackel. We love you, brother.
One of the best.
See you, boys.
Hey, Sean.
All right, folks. On to the rest of the show. Just talked about our stock market. We got our transaction train station. Housekeeping. No more preseason primers. Preseason's done. We're done with all the preseason. That's crazy, Grant. And our hard hats of the week. Talked about the score breakdown for the day. Let's get right to an overdue shout out. Our international fans, particularly from Germany. If you're a German fan watching this right now, this next segment is for you. I wanted to dedicate a portion of the show to you today, just to show that we've noticed how consistent and loyal you've been throughout from the start of our show back in the spring. Every single week, you're tuning in. We saw the comments on Apple giving us a lot of praise. We really appreciate that. So in light of it being the month of October and Oktoberfest in Germany, I thought it was only appropriate to suggest beers that pair well with the best German players in the NHL right now. We'll do a little stat breakdown, and I'll do my best to talk German geography. I did learn a little bit, Grant, in researching this. It was a lot of fun. It makes me want to visit. Maybe we'll have to go do a show in Germany. Oh, that'd be fun.
Don't tempt me with a good time.
Yeah. Do a show and drink some of these beers I'm about to mention, all from the Bavaria area. Seems like Bavaria. When I Googled best beers in Germany, they were all from Bavaria. So,
that tracks from what I understand about German culture and history. Yeah.
Yeah. So specifically, these fans hail from Berlin and the Bayern regions. From
Sure.
what I understand, beautiful parts of the country. Again, would love to go. So let's start with Leon Draisaitl. Leon Draisaitl, 3 goals, 2 assists, and 6 games played. He is from Cologne, Germany. I hope I said that right.
Yep, you nailed it.
The beer that pairs the best with him, if you're a Leon Draisaitl guy, is, sorry if I butcher these, my German friends, Schneider Aventinus Doppelbock. And that is made in Kelheim, Germany, which is a region of Bavaria, it seems. So would love to try that one. Let's move on to Tim Stutzel. Stutzel, 3
Big
goals,
fan.
4 assists. He's a
we talk about stock picks. I've had a little Stuzy stock for a while.
If you play NHL 24 franchise mode, he's a player you need to go grab because 10 times out of 10, I promise you it works out 10 years down the road. Tim Stutzel, 3 goals, 4 assists, 5 games played for the Ottawa Senators. That's an up-and-down team right now. Pairs well with Hanstempfener Vitus Weisenbach. Of course, made in Freising, Bavaria. Freising? I don't know. Reach out and let me know how to say this, please, my German friends. Give me a lesson. Okay, last one here. I got Moritz Seider. Recently signed that big deal in Detroit with the Iser plan. Hope that works out. He has 1 goal and 2 assists, 5 games played. He's from Zell, Germany. He pairs well with Einger Oktoberfest Marzen. And that is made in Eying, Bavaria. So there you have it. Lessons for the day. You learned about some German beers, some German players. Even if you're not one of these German fans, if you're in the U.S. or any other country. Now you know,
if you studied abroad for a semester and can help train with the pronunciations, like drop us a line.
Please.
I think you did a pretty good job on that. I think my knowledge about Germany is very limited to soccer and then kind of pre-modern history of like the 30 Years War and the Holy Roman Empire. So I think he did a good job there. But yeah, I mean, Germany is a hockey country. Like I think obviously with Draisaitl becoming the star he is, gets a lot of people recognize that it is a hockey country in a lot of ways, whereas maybe in the past they haven't thought of that. But you and I both know, as a hockey historian, they've always had a very good international presence in a lot of those tournaments. Even if they didn't have the star power that they do now, they were always tough to play against. And there's a lot of cool kind of German history in regards to hockey. So I was excited when Trent and I were talking analytics behind the scenes and where our listeners were. And drop us a line. We'll keep trying to do kind of fun updates. Maybe we talk a little the German league just to keep it fresh and different. And we'll keep our eyes on it. But that's always fun.
Yeah, I'm here for it. Yeah, and folks, if you could give us a place to stay while we're over there, that'd be great. When we do that episode in Germany, so we love you. Okay, this is it's something I wanted to precursor with our stock market, who we're buying and selling. This is really a snapshot of the league, and this is going to be more of a segment moving forward into the regular season. We've obviously shed all the preseason primers. Now let's take a look, break down each division, kind of the storylines that we're following with each division. Something that of note with this analysis, 10 games in is really the first time we have enough data of sample size where we can start to make concrete claims on teams and where trajectories are headed.
You can notice trends. You can see trends.
It's just trends right now. We're 1 week in, like 10 days in, really. But on average, I'd say 6 games played is where every team is at. So by this time next week, though, we'll be able to make concrete statements being 10 games into the season. So with the Atlantic Division, you got Panthers. They're number 1 right now. As I said earlier, 6 teams are separated by 2 points. This is one of those stats that I think is going to stand the test of time and solidify throughout the wild card race. I think this is going to be extremely tight. I do think this is the best division in hockey. Second, probably the Central. After that, the Pacific. Sorry, Grant, I've got Metro. I think it's so.
That's fair. Understanding what's happening right now, I think what makes the Atlantic easily kind of the best right now, looking at it, and I don't know if this is completely fair, but it's like the teams at the top are the teams we expected them to be. The Panthers are who we thought they were. Shout out, Coach Denny Green. The Bruins are finding their way. Tampa's still up there. Toronto's Toronto. Like the teams that we thought are going to be really good. Now, talk about the Metro, New Jersey, and the Rangers are right there. But then after that, it's a pretty big fall off, which is kind of what we thought. But we thought that this was going to be a weird year in the Metro. And then you go to the Central, who we were really high on. But then a couple of the teams that we thought to come out of the gate strong, the Avs and maybe even the Preds, they're not there. And Utah is a fun story, and it's going to be a lot of fun to keep watching them. But the question is going to be can they keep this up?
Sure.
And whether they can or can't, I think is almost beside the point. Like what they're doing right now is so much fun that people are going to buy into it, and that's probably what they needed. That's probably what that organization needed more than anything.
Sure.
So, and then just, to round it off, obviously, the Pacific, Calgary at number one. I think a lot of people are thinking it's kind of smoke and mirrors, but the points matter, and they're up there. They're banking them, and it's just all hands on deck if Edmonton can figure this out and get a charge up the standings, which I think they probably can. I think the dunking on the Oilers, that was probably like a last week bit. I think we're going to get to a point where that starts to kind of take hold a little bit of the division of what we kind of thought it looked like.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I agree with all. So let's talk. We talked about the Iser plan. We talked about Detroit a little bit. They are in the bottom of the Atlantic right now. 2 and 3. They have 4 points total. It's been very low event hockey, which is kind of shocking to me. 14 goals for. That's last in the division. So kind of an anemic offense right now, and 17 goals against. So close to even there on the differential, not too far off. It's hard to tell either way where the real crux of the problem exists. Just very low event. Another team that's very low event, Toronto Maple Leafs, 15 goals for and 11 against. So positive on the differential side, more offense than goals against. So that's good. I look for that to expand drastically with the players they do have. Let's talk about the Metro. At the top, you got the Devils number 1. They're 5-2, and the Rangers are second. They're 4-0-1. This is another piece of info that I don't think is going to change the rest of the season. I think Devils and Rangers are going to jockey back and forth between first and second, and I think they're staying there all season long until the playoffs. After that, you got the Caps, you got the Islanders, and the Pens are all tied for third place with 6 points. Hurricanes, notably, are 2-2. Great video this week of Rob Brindamore, all my Caniacs out there in the locker room, giving a great pump-up speech. He is so active. I saw all the comments on Instagram joking about how many steps he was making, just getting in some cardio with his speech. Energizer Bunny in the locker room. It was hilarious. Also low event for them, 12 goals for, 11 against. And then at the bottom of the Metro, you got Jackets, I believe, in 7th. Flyers are in 8th. Flyers not looking hot out of the gate. Certainly look for some things to change there. Grant, let's talk about that home opener against the Florida Panthers. I came home from work, rewinded it because I had missed it. So because I really wanted to see it, Haley and I sat down, got the box of Kleenex ready, needed it. No question. That was powerful, man.
Yeah. This start of the season has been marked by like every team really doing a really great job of honoring Johnny's life and contributions to the hockey community and all the lives he's touched. You really notice how many kind of places he's affected and just how tightly knit the hockey community is. So that's been ongoing. I've had a hard time kind of watching a lot of it, truthfully. But the Blue Jackets, being the hometown team, I kind of tuned in, knew it was going to be tough. Was not in the building. I think I mentioned it last week. Kind of travel circumstances and life's responsibilities kind of got to a point where I couldn't make the home opener. But that was just one of those kind of moments where you remember why this is kind of special. It's a silly game in a lot of ways. There's always going to be more important things in life, but the connections you make with each other and with these people and the impacts they have on your life are very real. And I thought the Jackets did a great job of having a video that was like more so about Johnny as the person and his life as opposed to the hockey side of things. And, other teams have done, like you said, Calgary did a great kind of like hockey highlight trivia. I think that was amazing. I also think what the Jackets did where he's just, talking about how he met his wife and talking about, what the city of Calgary and Columbus had meant to him. And it felt very much like Johnny the person. And then, you have his kids out there on center ice and Sean Monahan's holding, his kids and his dad's there. His dad was at practice earlier that week with the Jackets. He's, a hockey guy himself. And I think that was a really great moment for the organization. And I was at the point where I didn't know how these guys were going to be able to play. It's such an emotional moment. And then, before the puck gets dropped, they show another video of Johnny's wife, Meredith, who says, let's have some fun because that's what Johnny would want. I'm kind of paraphrasing, but the message was he wants us to like have fun with this and play and attack this sport with the vigor and excitement that he did every day. And if you can live your life and like he did, then world would be such a great place. And I think that kind of, you remember them, you love them, and it's special and it's very emotional. And then you kind of get that moment where you're like, let's do this in a great kind of attitude towards the game. And the Jackets came out and had a great game. I'm loving what I'm seeing so far from this team. Obviously, last night against the Wild, a little rough. Sorry to kind of bounce back and forth between games here. Sometimes it's hard, but I thought they played great. I fully expected them to get one past Spencer Knight. He had a hell of a game in net. Has a couple clutch saves, and shout out to him, man. I mean, that's just what the sport is sometimes. But the Jackets are really showing Columbus that what we're doing this year is different than the past couple of years, and that's what we really needed. There's a bit of an identity. They're skating harder. Guys who we're asking to step up or stepping up. Some of them are getting hurt, but everyone's really pulling the rope in the right direction right now. And I think they're at least going to be exciting to watch, which hasn't always been the case, unfortunately, the past couple of years. And truthfully, with everything that's going on, that's enough. That's enough for this team right now to be a success. Is just go out there, you get some big wins at home against your rivals. They're playing hard. If they're kind of being tough to play against, if you're in every game, it's going to be great. We're getting killed with injuries right now, and we're going to talk about that a little later. But that was one of the cooler Jackets games. And cool, I mean, cool is not the right word, but like just emotional and just meaningful games that I've kind of experienced as a fan. Wish I could have been there in person, but still kind of felt everything. Just watching on TV and talking with my friends here in Columbus and just being around it and reading the reactions and everything. It's been a special first week of the season for the CBJ.
That's a great attitude, brother. Yeah, they certainly have their looks. That Spencer Knight kid for Florida is a beast. Let's give huge credit to new head coach Dean Evison for simplifying things and clearly getting the buy-in of the roster and dealing with a lot of adversity, not just passing with Johnny and Matthew Gaudreau, but also now the mounting injuries. And they're no stranger in the NHL right now. There's a lot of injuries everywhere that we'll continue to discuss. All right, let's talk about the Central. Up top there, you got Dallas Stars #1. They are 5-1, look great, like we discussed earlier. Utah is in second, all the vibes. Jets are in third. Jets are in third only because they've played 2 less games than everybody else. They're on fire. 18 goals for and 5 against. Winnipeg fans, if you recall, we're huge fans of your passion and your town. Chicago has improved, just like Grant said. They're in 6th place. Avs finally won a game. How about that? We won a game. Won in overtime versus the Ducks. What's up?
Breaking news here. At the end of the second period, Jets are up 3-2 on the Pens. It was the Jets scored 3 goals in that period too.
I was going to say it was 0-0.
Come back in. Yeah, no, that was a very eventful second period. But the Jets were down 2-0 at a certain point in the second period, and then seemingly just went on a tear. So they are proving what we're saying is true in real time right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Avs finally won a game. They won at home in overtime against the Ducks, a game that frankly shouldn't have gone to overtime, but oh well, got to win. So that felt good. They are dealing with injuries right now to Gabe Landeskog, Arturi Lehkonen, Valerie Nichushkin's situation, as we've discussed. Miles Wood got hurt the other day. I think he's back now. Devontae's. You're looking at an entire line of elite players right there. So we've got,
and then on top of that, the goalie situation is not great.
That's the real issue, Grant. We'll see, but I'm fascinated to see. I've already heard rumors about potentially John Gibson might be a little expensive for McFarland's taste in Denver. Potentially a Mackenzie Blackwood. Whenever Askarov comes up from San Jose, Blackwood now becomes expendable. That is a guy Colorado would love to get their hands on. He's solid.
Now you're in a position though where teams know, like you're losing leverage.
You're losing value
with every loss, and maybe certain. And I know these things are complicated. It's not a video game. You don't just pull up Trade Player on your computer and execute. Like there's a lot of moving parts, but it's not like this was an unknown issue going into the season. Like this was a big question mark. And, you start pretty rough and some injuries pile up and all of a sudden it's not as simple as we trust the guys on the ice.
Right. Yeah. So I'm not overly worried. I want to jump down here to a stat that I gathered for today. So this is just a sum of the shooting percentage of each team plus save percentage. Mm-hmm. It can potentially tell a story of maybe who's getting some puck luck their way and who's very unlucky. That's not to say if one of these unlucky teams is not a bad team. It could just be this is just a bad team. Could also paint the story of, hey, maybe they're just, the bounces just aren't going their way right now, and we expect that to even out. So let's talk about it. So shooting percentage plus save percentage, the teams with the highest number, Rangers, Stars, and Flames. Like we discussed, they are top of that Pacific Division right now. Will that sustain for long term? I'm going to guess no, but we don't know for sure. Obviously, you can't. They've got veterans in Huberdeau and Kadri who are gamers. You can't count these guys out. I know in our preseason primers, we kind of knocked the Flames to the side. No shot. I, notably put them in 8th place in the division. But hey, they're showing up and they're making it happen. So we'll see if it sustains itself. The teams with the lowest shooting percentage plus save percentage, Preds, Oilers, and Avs. So with this stat, that could suggest that these 3 teams, maybe just the bounces haven't gone their way. Maybe these teams are just bad. We don't know for sure. Obviously, I don't believe that at least one of these teams is just bad. But let's talk about one of them. Nashville. The lights are not on in Nashville right now, Grant. 0-5, 10 goals for. Will this correct itself?
They have talented guys on this team. You and I were texting each other like there's guys in this room that legitimately know how to like compete for the cup. Like it has to come together. And granted, like continuity and team chemistry and getting things figured out is more complicated than just who you are at the back of your baseball card. But this is egregiously bad.
Stamkos just got his first goal yesterday.
He's expected to like contribute. Like they didn't bring him to sell jerseys. Like he was supposed to, be good. And correct me if I'm wrong, Trent. They had like a decent preseason, right?
Right.
Like I remember that we were talking about how like cool preseason was. Maybe we were wrong to believe that. Maybe preseason is meaningless.
There's no question that the management and ownership has put that team in a position with a solidified list of weapons. Just got to wake
We
those
gave
weapons
them
up.
a lot of credit for
We
going
did.
for it.
Oh,
Like,
for sure.
you love to see a team say let's buy, buy stock in ourselves. It's not off to a great start, but it's early.
Yeah, just 5 games in. Again, 10 games in, we'll start to make claims. 5 games in right now, we'll see. We'll see. Hopefully, it corrects itself. They got the weapons, just got to wake them up. All right, let's
the
jump
loss
to the Pacific.
that Detroit was. Sorry, I can keep losing to Detroit at home. That's the thing about if you're the Preds and your identity is kind of what it is. You got to win at home ice,
Right?
And I know home ice in hockey, it's not what it is in football, but there still should be a little something to being the home team.
Yeah, absolutely. So Pacific Division, Calgary Flames are number 1, as we discussed. That was not on my bingo card, Grant.
You know what wasn't on my bingo card either is who's in second place right now.
Kraken.
Yeah,
Seattle Kraken.
Maybe we gotta own up to some things. Maybe they
did.
Yeah.
The thing about Seattle is they are such a deep team. To me, they've always been a team that has 4 lines of second line players. And when you have second liners across 4 lines, you could roll 4 lines and do predictably well. So there's no secret. It's a very tough team to play against. The Ducks are right there. 4 games played. They're 2-1-1. Look out. That's all I'm going to say. Kraken and Vegas, as you discussed, 2nd and 3rd respectively. Both teams look good. Oilers, they started 0-3. They're now 2-4, starting to correct itself. We talked about that puck luck stack earlier. They were one of those teams on the lower end of the puck luck, clearly correcting itself.
I have an Oilers stat, if I may. I'm not always the big stat guy, but I wanted to join the stat party here. This is courtesy of JFresh Hockey on Twitter and Top Down Hockey. This is goal differential above expected. You might be familiar. We've talked about expected goals. It's high value shots are weighted to a certain percentage of that was expected to be a goal 80% of the time. So that sort of example. This is how many goals are you actually scoring above what the statistics expect you to? Or in the reverse of that, how many goals are you not scoring, basically?
One of my favorite stats. It's so transparent.
Yeah. Edmonton's minus 15.7, and that's last by significant margin. The team right above them that's also has the lowest are the Nashville Preds, who we just talked about. They're at 11.4. And just because I'm talking to you, at 30th, the bottom 3 right now is the Avs at minus 10.
Sure,
so
I believe that.
Yeah. So those stats that you brought up kind of correlate to this in a lot of ways. The Oilers are just not getting the puck in the back of the net. And they're not. They're also with that. They're letting in more goals than they're expected to as well. That's the thing about this expected goal differential. It goes both sides of, are you giving up a bunch of high value opportunities, and are you just letting in goals that aren't high value? You're just getting scored on all the time. And with a differential that low, it's all of the above.
If Edmonton doesn't have a solidified goalie option by Christmas, they need to address that immediately. We talked about it when we did their primer. No time for wasted time anymore. Give these guys the best chance they absolutely have going into the playoffs. Give them a goalie that's a stone wall. These players deserve it. So look for that. I
think they'll get bailed out just by the nature of the Pacific Division.
Yeah,
I think it will just end up happening.
Last place, San Jose Sharks are 0-3-2 in 5 games. No secret, the Celebrini injury is huge. First game, 2 points, 1 goal. Guy certainly looked the part, even at 18 years old. Coming over from Boston University, great player. They have 11 goals for, 22 against. Defense was going to be a concern, and it clearly is solidifying itself there. Great. A team that I can't figure out. Los Angeles Kings. They are 2-1-2, 17 goals for, 18 goals against. So nearly an even goal differential.
Yeah.
They're a roller coaster. You watch them one game, they look lights out. Quentin Byfield looks the part. You watch them the next game, it's like they don't even touch the puck. Byfield right now is a -3 with 3 assists. He is their best player that needs to basically be a threat every single game that they play, especially with the absence of Drew Doughty. I don't know where this team is headed. Genuinely, I can't get a pulse.
They're trying to evolve past what we've thought of the Kings to be for the past 10 or 12 years, where it was like really grimy defense, like not like whatever the opposite of a wide open game is. That was the opposite with the Kings. And they're trying to do a little bit more of playing with the puck, playing through the, like just trying to be more open in hopes to generate some scoring, because it was been down for the Kings for a while.
They're not a bad team. They're not a bad team.
No, but it's like
puzzling. They're a puzzling team.
Yeah, it's a team in transition, to like the nth degree, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, last bit of stats here for the snapshot of the league. I wanted to give some shout outs to the best lines in hockey right now. So I'm going to start with two that may be more obvious than the other one. Out of Vegas, believe it or not, I'm giving them a shout out. Barbashev, Jack Eichel, and Stone, 8 goals for, 4 against. Again, they're third in the Pacific, in large part due to this line playing very well. Out of Columbus, my boys.
Let's go.
Chinnikov, Monahan,
Igor Chinnikov,
Monahan, and Marchenko, 6 goals for, 2 against. They're the wins that they do have, obviously, in large part due to this line. Sean Monahan is playing great.
What a pickup!
Yeah, I mean, like, what a pickup!
What a pickup! I mean, like, through all of this that we're talking about, the emotion, his friendship, like, what a pickup! Like, I mean, just like a move that like any team would love to have a guy like Monahan. Obviously, he's playing at accelerated pace, but he's doing exactly what we've asked him to do. From a hockey
I'll be
standpoint.
Completely honest. The last couple of years when he's been in the trade rumors, the free agency,
bouncing around a lot.
He bounced around. Went to Montreal. Went to Winnipeg.
Yeah,
that's a guy the Avs were potentially looking at and rumored to be in talks with, and I was kind of glad that they passed on him. I wasn't super sold. Right now, boy, he looks the part. Very good player.
Bouncing around like that can't be easy. I mean, so much of hockey is the locker room continuity, your relationship with the guys next to you, and like you guys are professionals and you have to perform, but that's not easy. And all those being that guy in the trade line deals. So hopefully, he's got some stability. That first line, man, is so exciting to watch. Purely just like vibes and game wise, I haven't been like this excited to watch like a group of guys play each other since the year we had Line and Jakub Voracek. And like Line was hot, Voracek was like just feeding them, assists all year. We didn't play a lick of defense that year, but that was like a moment in time where like now I'm kind of feeling the same way where like Chinnikov is finding space. Marchenko is doing the dirty work. Like Monahan's like winning faceoffs in the offensive zone and like keeping the puck, and Werenski's getting into it. Like it's when they're all on the ice, like it does feel it feels special. So it's been a lot of fun right now, and it just makes you think like, man, if we just could stay a little healthy, like you're thinking about this team different. Like I know we're gonna get into it, but like all the injuries are so like long term that it's like you don't see the light at the end of the tunnel right now.
What could be? All right, let's finish up the best lines in hockey here. Let's talk about the best line in hockey. Frankly, let's go to Boston. The fourth line.
These guys, dude.
First of all, if your fourth line is performing at this stature, your team has a great chance to win every single game. Kepke, Beecher. I don't know. I'll have to ask Matt on that one.
I think you got it. Yeah.
Beecher and Kastelik. Fourth line, 8 goals for and 0 against in 6 games played. Here's the other crazy part. They only have 47 minutes of time on ice so far in the 6 games that they've played together. That relates to or equates to a goal every 6 minutes from your fourth line. Wow.
Imagine being like in like the way these things typically work. Like, yeah. Well, you typically try to like, find a matchup where like, a fourth line's maybe against a first line based on like an icing or like a different kind of like guy coming out of the box. Like, imagine being an opponent's like first line. Like, all right, guys, we got their fourth line. Let's like move the puck, and then it's just the puck's in your own net.
Whoa, that's not supposed to happen. Yeah,
like, what's going on? So that's right. Hell to play against. And that's a reason the Bruins are who they are, man. And we talk about it so often. It's like the most points won over 10 years. It's just guys like this. Just I'm not going to say no name. That's not fair. But like we talked about, them moving on from so many guys, and it's next man up. It's just guys flying, with the puck and doing work on the boards, and then you look up and the Bruins have won like 4-1, and you're like, how do they keep doing this?
Boston Magic, I just wholeheartedly believe is the thing at this point, and I just imagine outside of TD Garden, there's a wizard. And as new players come in, it's like Gandalf from Lord of the Rings. You got the Wizard of Boston out there, just whatever blessing or whatever potion they give them. Welcome to Boston. You're now going to perform better than you ever have.
You're going to get 15 goals randomly.
Right.
Great job.
All right, folks, that wraps up our snapshot of the season so far, division by division breakdown. We'll keep that in as a consistent segment moving forward with the regular season. All aboard Transaction Train Station here. It's a very short ride on the train station today. If you're new with us, Hard Hat Hockey, this is our segment where we talk about basically the exchange of money in the league over the last week. Any trades, any signings, any extensions, what have you. If money is exchanged, this is where we talk about it. Rapid reaction out of Dallas. Goaltender Jake Ottinger signs a very familiar deal, Grant. Very familiar here. 8 by $8.25 million. I've seen that number before. Linus Ullmark signed that same deal last week. And before that, who else had that deal? There's 4 guys now that are rocking 8.25. Johnny Sway.
Yeah.
Swayman out of Boston. Jake Ottinger also looking the part in Dallas. We talked about how elite that defense is early on. He has a 4-1 record, 1.48 goals against average, and .953 save percentage. Wow.
Big ticket, and he's a huge part of their success right now. Like, guys are finding the back of the net, but he's doing a great job. And I think the window in Dallas is open enough where you're paying a goalie. We talk about it like, can you win a cup without a real star goalie? Maybe, but it helps to have a guy. And Jake's working his way up to, I would say, being like a top tier goalie. Like, I think if he keeps this up, we'll probably talk about him in the same way we talk about like Igor Shesterkin at a certain point. So kudos to him, man. We'll have to get your brother on to break it down.
Yeah, he was going to join today. Maybe next week.
Yeah, we're due for if the Stars keep this up, we are due for a Stars update.
We need a Stars update from our boots on the ground analyst, Alec Dunn, out of Louisville, Kentucky. Okay, NHL housekeeping coming up. Folks, if you're new to us again, this is our segment, NHL housekeeping, where we discuss the news of the league to include a lot of injuries. And I know I've left a few out here, but these are more long-term ones, if you will. So out of Utah,
the headliners.
Kudos to Utah for being so successful early with these injuries. You got Sean Durzee's placed on the IR. He'll be out for the foreseeable future. Speculative shoulder injury after a hit from New Jersey Devils Jonas Siegenthaler. And then John Marino was listed week to week, now, quote, months away. That's according to head coach Andre Tourigny. They are missing 2 top defensemen and 1 in overtime in Boston last night without 2 top defensemen. So Utah, whatever you're doing, keep it rolling. Alexander Texier out of St. Louis, he was put on the IR this week. Joel Edmondson out of L.A. was put on the IR. Alec Martinez out of Chicago on the IR. Clearly a big blow to them. I know he was on that power play early on in the season. And then out of Columbus, Eric Goode-Bronson was put on the IR this week. Clearly not the only one. Grant?
Yeah, it's tough across the board for a lot of these guys. My obviously focus on the Jackets here. Goode-Bronson was, the veteran defender, having a decent start to the season. He goes down, and then now all of a sudden we're seeing like Jack Johnson play significantly more minutes. But it's next man up. Texier getting hurt. That was tough. He was getting kind of fresh start in St. Louis. I think he had, I don't know if he found the back of the net yet, but he was, at least getting an assist in there. I hope he's not out for too long, because I do think he's still a guy who, if he finds the right spot, could work. And Alec Martinez injury, tough for all these. You hate seeing guys go down early, because it's just like, it doesn't feel fair. It's like the season just started, and now it's like, okay, see you he's gone for 3 months. And
right.
you never want to see this, man. You want to see the best guys on the ice.
Sure, absolutely. Out of Pittsburgh, prospect Rutger McGroarty played a couple games with the big club. He was sent to the AHL Wilkes-Barre. Was that their AHL team?
Yeah,
Wilkes-Barre.
Yeah. Wilkes-Barre Scranton. Yeah,
Wilkes-Barre Scranton, home Dunder Mifflin Paper Company.
On the show.
Oh, okay.
On the show.
Copy that. Yeah, I put this in here. That's usually not news that we cover, but I'm putting this in here because this was the prospect a couple weeks ago who essentially demanded a trade out of Winnipeg as a prospect. Kind of a not super humble thing to do, and it didn't sit particularly well with me. And I think humble pie was served here. So
maybe he's got to get it going at the AHL level.
Yeah, I'm not even talking about his talent or his skill set. I think you just be humble and be a good team player. Out of Pittsburgh this week, we talked about when Sean Hackel was on earlier on the show. That game, Buffalo basically allowed the comeback to occur. Pittsburgh won in overtime in dramatic fashion. Very ruckus environment. Watched a lot of that game. Evgeny Malkin in that game scored his 500th goal. Crosby scored his 1,600th point. He also got the OT winner that night. And then they did a really cool interview with both guys after the game. Crazy just how long they've been together and how long they've been in the league as a whole, and how they're still effective. They're still producing. And that just awesome moment, comeback victory over the Sabres.
It was a cool moment. These guys, you can't not respect them. And they seem to love each other too, which cracks me. Their vibe. They just talk. It's cool. It's good for the game. It's good for the league that they're still. That they're still contributing. This isn't stars holding on just to sell jerseys. These guys are still doing it. That's a testament to how talented they are. A cool moment.
Out of Denver, I won't spend too much time here. The Islanders came to town this past week. Head coach there is obviously Patrick Waugh, Hall of Fame goalie who made his name for himself playing for the Colorado Avalanche, Stanley Cup winning goalie. Quote in the pregame before the game against the Islanders from Patrick Waugh: "We would not have drafted McKinnon if I wasn't there. I'm proud to see how Mac has been playing for them." Kind of a weird flex to me. I thought just very unnecessary quote.
That's kind of his MO though, right?
Sure.
He's nothing he says is wrong, but you're and something about the tone and just his delivery has always been what?
Yeah, Patrick, do you have a problem? What? Yeah.
What's your deal, man?
What's your deal?
That's every quote, every kind of moment where he's been, especially been with the Avs. I do think it's hard when a legend takes another role with a team that they can theoretically screw up to where it then becomes a tarnishes the reputation a little bit. I don't know if it ever got to that point in Colorado, but yeah, this is it'd be one thing if he wasn't employed by if it was a superstars night and he was coming back, or I'm back in the building. He's employed by another NHL team. This is kind of a crazy thing to say.
Yeah, and Avs fans as a whole view Patrick Waugh in a positive light. Only think positive. He brought great times to the franchise. Obviously, nobody has any salt or beef with him, and so he just feels like he's got just a grudge or a bone to pick, and I don't know why.
Maybe people weren't taking him seriously. Maybe they're all right, sure, McKinnon.
Sure, yeah. More current apparent news out of Denver. Valeri Nichushkin is officially not in Russia anymore. He is in Denver. He is working out, skating on his own. He's not allowed to practice with the team just yet. He will be available to play November 13th. That is when the 6-month suspension is up. And
this is a good step, though.
It's a good step. And all signs lead to, there's a lot of speculation in the offseason on are they going to try to trade him? What are they going to do with that contract? And it seems very clear that they are going to put him back in the lineup, and teammates are going to welcome him again with open arms. So hopefully third time's a charm, and we don't have to deal with this crap anymore. Record for the Avs with Nichushkin in the lineup: 118 wins, 35 losses. Without him in the lineup, 40 wins, 37 losses. So much closer to 500 there. Without him, clearly a big-time player that the Avs depend on. So
that tracks. I mean, it feels like a 500 team without him.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Okay. That's all the news I had for housekeeping in the NHL. Grant, you got anything to add before the hard hats?
No, man, that was good. I like the little touch base. Work with us, folks, as we evolve the show past just previewing. We're kind of figuring out what this is going to look like and what the flow is, and kind of what the segments are going to take on. But we hope to cover everything as much as we can, and give justice to every team, every story in the league, not just our favorites. We're always going to give the Jackets and the Avs a little extra love, of course, but the start of the season has been really exciting, and I hope that kind of is translated into the show.
We are supporters of every fan base at a minimum. This show is for the fans, and the NHL is for the fans. For any managers or owners who may forget that, it's for the fans. Let's just take a quick field trip back to 2020 when we had the playoffs, the COVID playoffs with no fans.
The bubble.
It sucked, right? It's very different. Without the fans, there is no value. The fans make the league. So I obviously the players, are the product. However, the value is so high in the league because of the fans. This is for the people, by the people. So I'm not going to get, on my patriotic soap.
No, you did good.
Okay, the hard hats of the week are sponsored by Leroy's Bar. Located in the heart of Worcester, Ohio, Leroy's establishment has provided cheap pitchers and a safe haven for all of the Fighting Scots of Worcester since 1969. Make your reservations today. I got a picture from my buddy Brandon James. He was at the Worcester game this weekend. Did they win? Do we know? Football?
Let me check it out. Keep talking.
If you don't know what we're referring to, the College of Worcester is Grant and I's alma mater. We follow the Fighting Scots football program very closely. We both used to play there.
It's been a tough season so far. It was homecoming this past Saturday against Ohio Wesleyan, and Trent, I hate to report that the Scots lost 34-22. We are 1-6 on the year. Our only win so far was week 1 against Wilmington. Wilmington historically not very good. I visited there. It was right down the road from me in Springfield. Not the best, but we got a game against Oberlin. Then we got to go to Hiram, so a chance to get two wins before we close the season out at home against our big rival Wittenberg. So doesn't look like it's been a great season so far. You hope the Scots still have some fight in them to end the year.
Grant, my hard hat of the week goes to Captain Jordan Eberle of the Seattle Kraken. We talked about them earlier, successful they have been. 6 games played, 5 goals, 2 assists. He is a +4. That is to include the overtime winner that he got last night. Jordan Eberle gets my hard hat of the week, playing great. What a leader. The guy is stepping up in his captaincy role. Good for them. Kraken are certainly fitting the bill. Grant?
My hard hat is going to Yegor Chinikov. We talked about him a little bit earlier, being one of the top lines. 23 years old, first round pick in 2020. Kind of a guy that Yarmo picked out of nowhere, if everyone remembers that kind of draft. He's been with the Jackets now. He's really cemented his role in the top line, and he's got 3 goals and 4 assists in 5 games. He's another dude, kind of like Kent Johnson, who's put on some muscle and has kind of thrown his body around and using that extra kind of weight to find the right space and get the puck in the back of the net. So he's been a huge bright spot and been really fun to watch. I was curious why all these young guys put on weight, and Ashley reminded me that the Jackets got a new weight room this year. And that might honestly enough to get these guys into a different weight class. We were lucky enough as partial season ticket holders to kind of tour it and see it. And it was it's breathtaking. I love stuff like that. So get these young guys some new equipment, and all of a sudden they're pumping the iron, man. You can see it.
Let's take a look at one of those goals right now, Grant.
Oh, it's beautiful. He's got some speed. He attacks the center of the ice. Yeah, he's got a very deceptive shot. I mean, just the puck just kind of flies off the tape without the goalie being able to see it. He's one of these just bright spots right out of the gate so far.
Folks, those videos, if we do include them here after editing, are credit to NHL.com as we're pulling the highlights there. I love that the start of that play is Jack Johnson with a nice hit, nice defensive gaps, super tight gaps. He was always great at his gap control. Like we talked about before, the dude is a house and doesn't move like a house. He moves like a nimble rabbit for the size of his door frame body.
Yeah, and with that clip, the Jackets are down 3 goals late in the third period. They're not going to come back and win that, truthfully, but they're still fighting hard and they're still executing the game plan and the principles. And if you do that, opportunities to score will arrive, and that's what happened there. So that's a game that I think a couple of years ago just goes off the rails immediately. There's no fight left and with the guys, but they're keeping their head down and doing the work, and you see that. I mean, it's a simple play along the boards. Igor finds the space he needs to. He trusts that the puck's going to find his way, and then with that, he's also skilled enough to find the back of the net. So, those type of opportunities are going to arise in the first period. They're going to arise, at the end of the game, and just you got to execute them when they're in front of you, no matter what.
Absolutely. Grant, parting shots?
No. So happy to be able to do this. I was looking forward to it the whole trip home from Philly. I bought a Rocky hat when I was in Philly, because Philly's a really silly town where they have this really beautiful art museum, but then right at the foot of the art museum is a Rocky gift shop.
Why wouldn't there be? Yeah.
Why wouldn't there be? High class, the high end stuff, and then a little bit of like the, hey, do you like this movie? But I couldn't pass up a good hat like that. So it fits pretty good. So I think I'll be wearing it for a long time.
Yeah, I like Philly a lot. Well, folks, that wraps it up. That officially puts us at the quarter century mark. This is episode 25. So again, thank you for tuning in on a weekly basis. We hope that it provides an escape for you, a little bit of solace to sit down, relax, enjoy some hockey with some like-minded individuals. We know you all work hard. This is for the blue-collar folks. And in folks over in Germany and all over internationally, again, reach out, tell your friends, leave us a comment, video on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple at this point, and reach out on social media as well, Facebook and Twitter, or email if you're old school like me, hardhathockey1@gmail.com. Let us know your thoughts. Maybe we'll get you on the show. Reach out. We'd love to hear from you. We love you. We'll see you next week.